The 49ers have just defeated the Seattle Seahawks 36-24 on a Thursday night game in front of a hostile Seattle crowd, and what a much needed victory for the 49ers. The 49ers were looking at a 2-3 record, 0-2 in the division, 0-3 in the conference, and if they would have lost this one, a lot of questions and honestly just demands for Kyle Shanahan's job would have been done all over the 49ers fan world, whether that be on Reddit, whether that be on YouTube, whether that be on X, you name it, people would be calling for Kyle Shanahan's job. But you know what? The 49ers, even though ugly, came out and took care of business in Seattle against a divisional opponent and now see themselves tied for first place in the division. Now, this game shouldn't have been this close. The 49ers were up convincingly at half, but just couldn't find ways to put the game away. Why? Because red zone efficiency is still a common issue for the 49ers. Somehow, between the 20-yard hash marks, they can move the ball up and down the field. But when it comes to the red zone, Kyle Shanahan loses all sense of creativity, loses all sense of urgency, loses all sense of willingness to attack down the field, and gets very conservative and gets away from the identity. But luckily, toward the end of the game, the 49ers found a way and realized, hey, we have number 85 on our team, and maybe we should target him in the red zone. George Kittle and Juwan Jennings are red zone target quarterback's dream. Like, if you're a quarterback, that's who you want to target in the red zone because they are a big frame. They know how to box out and get open in those tight window throws. That's who you want. That's who you need. And it seems like this game, they finally took them a couple of drives, but they finally figured out we probably should get George Kittle involved in our game planning when it comes to the red zone. And also, so many injuries. In fact, we're going to get to special teams because something needs to happen there. I'm not saying that maybe any firing's going to happen yet, but something needs to be evaluated because now this is a potential second kicker that we're losing in a row because a kicker needs to be involved in making the tackle because the special teams is atrocious. But let's talk about rookies so far. One of the big knocks on Kyle Shanahan is he doesn't trust rookies, and which he really should give them a shot. How is he going to entrust them in the playoffs? How are they going to be able to step up the following year or year after that? Put them in situations where they can succeed. And because of injuries, he's been forced to start a lot of rookies or play them multiple times. Malik Mustafa with the interception. Renardo Green with an interception. Not just that, you also had Jacob Cowan did not have a great game as a punt returner, but Isaac Guerrero had that huge run at the end of the game which sealed the game for the 49ers. In fact, let's just look specifically at Isaac Guerrero. Isaac Guerrero, 10 carries, 99 yards, average 9.9 yards a carry. Now, granted, 75 of those yards, 76 of those yards came on that long run. Jordan Mason, 9 carries for 73 yards. We don't know the extent of the shoulder injury. Hopefully it's not a separation or anything like that because that would leave him out for potentially the rest of the season. But what's interesting about these injuries is it forces you to go into the depth. And honestly, it creates experience for your rookies. That way, when you get to those end of the games, you start getting to those winter games, you start getting into the playoffs, those nitty-gritty games, you have people and players that are battle-tested. And you look at, even Patrick Taylor showed some signs in the run game and just hard running. And you know where the 49ers won? On the turnover battle. Even though special teams was atrocious, the Seahawks turned the ball over 3 times. The 49ers offense did not turn the ball over. In fact, Deebo Samuel showed out. He always seems to show out on primetime and against the Seahawks. He had 3 receptions for 102 yards, had a 76-yard touchdown reception. He also ran the ball 4 times for 15 yards. That's not something you want to make happen regularly. You need him throughout the season, especially with Christian McCaffrey still out, especially with potentially Aaron Banks being out, potentially other starters being out, Jordan Mason potentially being out. You need Deebo Samuel to give you, use him on screenplays, get him out in the open. If you're going to run him up the middle, bigger risk for injury. Brandon Ayuk, we're still waiting to see him reach his potential. Had 2 catches, only targeted 4 times, same amount of times Kyle Juszczyk was targeted. There's a problem there. There's no reason that Brandon Ayuk and Kyle Juszczyk should have the same amount of targets. You're paying Brandon Ayuk $30 million a year. He should be getting minimum 8 targets a game. That's what he needs. He needs minimum 8 targets a game to earn that $30 million. Come on, you need to target him. You need to get him in the game plan, scheme him open, whatever it is you need to do, get the ball in Ayuk's hand. Last year, he led the NFL in yards per reception. And so we need to figure out how to get the ball into his hands. Let's talk about the defense for a bit. Fred Warner, I say this week in and week out, he is putting together a great resume for Defensive Player of the Year. He has now had 4 forced fumbles within 6 games. 4 forced fumbles within 6 games. Fred Warner is carrying this defense and setting that tone, and doing it without Dre Greenlaw, without his Robin next to him. And he's still doing it without Charvarius Ward wasn't there. Talanoa Hufanga is on IR. And so, and who knows what's going to happen with Mustafa. Hopefully he'll be able to be back in 10 days against the Chiefs. But Fred Warner has been the constant on this defense. You look, he had 11 tackles, 1 pass defense. He had the forced fumble. We also had Diamador Lenore had a pretty good game. And we talked about Renardo Green with the interception, Malik Mustafa with the interception. Honestly, Mitch Wisnowski had a great game. Several punts ended up within the 10-yard line. But special teams as a whole is still pretty terrible. How do you give up a touchdown on the kickoff to let Seattle come back into the game? Something needs to change when it comes to the special teams. You cannot have a good offense and good defense in the last-ranked special teams. There is zero excuse for that. This is Kyle Shanahan's 7th year. Special teams has always been an issue. You got to take care of that and figure that out. Does it mean bringing in a special teams coordinator to come alongside and help oversee the development of the special teams? Who knows? But you have George Odom, who used to be the special team standout player of the year when he was with the Colts. What's happening now? There's a lot of things that need to be answered for. Matthew Wright came in a hostile environment, stepping in for Moody, and ended up kicking. Maybe it's time to give Robbie Gould a call if Matthew Wright is still hurting, because Jake Moody's going to be out. He's on IR. And Matthew Wright, let's face it, with as bad as the special teams is for the 49ers, you need a kicker that can kick through the end zone. Because honestly, I would rather just let the other opposing offense start on the 30 every single play, because that's something you can game plan for. That is something that at least you know what the expectation is. Because if you kick it short into the landing zone, guess what? You have no idea if the other team's going to return it for a touchdown, because that's how bad the 49ers special teams is. So if Matthew Wright is hurt, hopefully he's not hurt long-term or anything that's going to be career-ending. But if he's hurt, it's time to get a kicker that can kick through the end zone. Now, Matthew Wright did his job. He was 3 for 3 on field goals. His long was 41 yards. Did that in Seattle, which is a hostile environment with the 12s. But he did what he needed to do. Kyle Shanahan, one of the things, why were you successful today? Well, it's easy. You ran the ball. That is your identity. That is what makes you a Shanahan, is you can run the ball. You run the ball, and when you get away from your identity, that's when the 49ers lose. Now, we love Brock Purdy. We love what he can do, but he doesn't need to pass for 400, 500 yards a game to be effective. And so you can show that here and there, sprinkle that in. There's definitely times where you need to air it out, but also lean on your DNA, what makes you you. And that's the run game. You have Jordan Mason, which hopefully he's going to be all right. You have Jonathan Taylor, who definitely showed out. You also have McCaffrey when he comes back. You had Isaac Guerrero, who had a game. So lean on the run game. Lean on the run game, and that also hides the deficiencies on the offensive line when it comes to pass protection. Lean on the run game, continue to thrive there, and then utilize the right playmakers. Get the ball in the hands of Brandon Ayuk. This was a great win, a great team win, but it was an ugly one. It should not have been this close. It should have been taken care of in the first half of the game, but it wasn't. You could have allowed your team to rest on a short week instead of potential further injuries. Instead, we let the Seahawks hang around, and that's what ended up happening with the Rams and Cardinals. They weren't taken care of early on, and that allowed them to come back and win the game. And so, luckily for the defense, they were able to kind of change that momentum. Isaac Guerrero was able to help change that momentum with that run, and that's what iced the game. It wasn't because of a great game plan by Kyle Shanahan, because what ended up, yes, he had a great opening script, but he didn't finish it. It was a red zone issue. So the red zone issues need to be cleaned up. It can't just be, okay, We got a couple of touchdowns to George Kittle. Is it solved now? No. You need to prove that you've learned from that, okay, Kittle can be trusted. Keep on going to Kittle. Keep on including Jawan Jennings. Let's figure out how to stop with these conservative play calls and start attacking the defense. You need to play to win, not play to not lose. And I think if you do that, you're going to be just fine. You have a big game next week against the Chiefs. You got 10 days to rest. Try to get as healthy as you can. It's going to be at Levi Stadium. Take care of business. Take care of business. Prove that to yourselves that you can beat the Chiefs. But also, let's get this momentum going. Let's get above 500. Let's maintain first place in the division. Forget about 1 seeds or 2 seeds. If you take care of the division, that guarantees 1 home playoff game. Take care of what you need to take care of. Again, you got a much needed victory. That is something worth celebrating. But how you won isn't worth celebrating. How you won was ugly, and we need to take care of that. We need to put the games away early. And again, props to the defense. Props to Purdy for no turnovers. But we need to continue to build on this success, find the areas where you need to improve, and can't just hope that, a big play here or there is going to go ahead and save you. You need to be intentional. Good teams find ways to put their opponent away early. Good teams don't allow bad teams to stay in the game. And so that's what you need to do. That's what we need to figure out. Again, great win, 3-3, tied for first place in the division. Hopefully we can get the Cardinals to lose this week. A lot of movement going on with the 49ers. You're on the right track. You are in the win column again. Now it's time to start stacking days, stacking wins, and start doing what you need to do until McCaffrey gets back. And that's all we got for you today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you